Welcome. It is Dem Boys Watch Footy. How's it going today, guys? It's your boy E. We got Waj here in the building. How's it going?
Yo, I'm back, man. I'm doing well, doing well. Happy to be back. Glad to be back with our listeners. Sorry it's been so long, but yeah, I mean, back again. Happy to talk about some footy.
Yeah, for sure. And want to thank all of our previous listeners as well as all of our new listeners. We have gone up significantly since the last time. Hope everybody was able to enjoy our last episode. We went up from 35 to 350 subscribers on our YouTube channel. So big ups to y'all. Much appreciated. Love the support. Keep giving us some likes and subscribes. It really helps us out. Really helps how we're going to continue the content going. And then we've gone up with our Instagram following as well. If we can hit up to 100, that would be awesome. We are at Dem Boys Watch Footy, DEMBOYS Watch Footy. But I wanted to thank everybody again for giving us a listen, giving us a shout. It's been all greatly appreciated. Well, yeah, we are starting off this week. We had a lot of craziness that was going on with Premier League right before the international break, and
Madness.
yeah, it was a good time. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. So, want to start us off with Tottenham, as many of our listeners know, and our new listeners are going to find out. We are big Arsenal fans. As you can see, Boy Waj is rocking the Arsenal jersey today. Got the, what is that, the purple and...
This is the third kit.
Yeah, is that the cotton candy one that you got on right now?
Yeah, is that what you call it? I don't call it cotton candy. It's just called like that new like I don't even know purple, blue, swag right here.
Yeah, it's giving me some cotton candy right now. Like I'm on Coney Island. I'm just asking for something sweet.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what.
Those colors.
Yeah, that's the vibe that I'm getting right now. So, but Tottenham, they ended up losing 3-2. They were up 2-0 going into halftime, and then suddenly within a 15-minute flurry from the 46th minute on, Brighton was able to take over that match and didn't look back. Well, I just want to hear your analysis on that matchup.
Bro, it was Tottenham did what Tottenham do. That's like they I think I heard one of the commentators saying they are the masters of their own destruction. Like, how are you gonna have two beautiful goals, by the way? Two beautiful goals by Tottenham in the first half. And then of course, fought the way back, but then like you said, in 15 minutes, like it was way too easy. They dismantled Tottenham real quick. I mean, that first goal, it was like, in the second half was in like the 54th minute, maybe second minute. It was just a dismantling of the team. Like you could see Ange just with his head down, all sullen. The team had completely fallen apart. And this was a Tottenham team that had so many chances on the ball. Like it's almost ridiculous to look at their performance and expect anything more from them at this point. Like that was a sad one. Like, but again, they were Tadaris to do is they like to so happily print on their shirts and on their stadium, but they did nothing.
Yeah,
they didn't dare. They didn't do a damn thing. So I'm sorry. Yeah, it was almost. It was so sad, but at the same time for Brighton, give respect to Brighton and shout out to them. They fought back real hard. I thought the goals were beautiful. Welbeck's header at the last goal was completely just like that was Danny on the head. Beautiful, beautiful. So big ups to them. But I'm just shocked that Tottenham can even fight back right there.
Yeah, I mean, we saw early and often Brennan Johnson. That man is on a scoring tear ever since he got killed by Tottenham's fans in social media. He had to delete his Instagram and his Twitter accounts. And so the fact that he is now on, I think that was his 7th goal in 7 matches. The man's on a scoring tear. So he started off the scoring. Then we had James Maddison throwing darts, got it at the 37th minute. And then Brighton, I don't know what happened. I don't know if people just turned off from Big Ange and just said, yeah, we're just going to run amok on our own. And then Menta over for Brighton, he scored, and then Jorginho Rudder, he got the equalizing goal. Danny Welbeck, as you said, in the 66th minute, towering header, really bigged up for the Manutians, trying to save face after Man U lost 3-0 the previous week. But I just don't understand what they're going to be able to do. You have Timo Werner, who the man cannot score in one-on-one situations, and he's
Nope.
getting the ball in very dangerous situations. Dominic Solanke, he is their big money signing over the summer. He cost them about $65 million, and not really seeing what we need to see from out of him. They got some kids that people want to see: Archie Gray, Mickey Moore, and I'm just not seeing the cohesion. They play that high line where their fullbacks overlap on the inside. So you have Udogi and Pedro Porro, the two backs, left back and right back, respectively. They tuck in and they really let the forward men really kind of just take over their own things. But
But see, that's the problem right there. Like they tuck in and then they just get countered, and
yeah,
boom, each time, and like Brighton just came in. I mean, Rutgers' goal. I mean, he just cut his way through the middle. And even against two defenders, bro. Like, what are you,
yeah,
Ange? What are you doing, bro? Like, it
yeah.
was watching it. Like their tactics are they're great until they're not.
Very true. And the thing that I'm seeing with them, and it happens every time, you have an amazing match against a subpar squad in Man U, and then suddenly everybody thinks everything's taken care of. But
Hmm.
it's the Premier League. Anybody can win on any given day. So they got a lot of work to do. Right now, they are in ninth place within the Premier League. It's a long season. This was only match day 6, but you're seeing the cracks of a squad that is supposed to be challenging, at least for the top 4, challenging for some trophies within Europe as well as domestically. So we'll see what happens with the squad. It's always fun to pile on, especially when they're crap. So it's something to see, you know?
And if I can leave with one thing too, they are the only team in the top 10 right now that have 3 losses. So that is out of 7. Like that is massive
Mm-hmm.
right now, and they should really be looking, internally to see what the hell they're doing. Because I mean, they've got a good squad, they've got a great manager, So what is going on right now? Because they just can't put it together.
Mm.
I'm not
Interesting.
complaining. I got some questions.
Yeah, there's a lot to handle with that squad, so we'll see what we can kind of parse out for, especially the end of this year. So our next match, another squad that was coming to challenge for some big things, at least trying to get top 4, but it right now is a very interesting look within the table over in the Premier League. We have Man U versus Aston Villa. Right now, that was a 0-0 draw. They had the entire board of Manchester United was at that match at Villa Park, and it was a bore fest. Like I don't understand what I'm watching whenever I'm watching Man United games. It's kind of a sad state of affairs. You used to seeing the squad always just bombarding forward and having at least a little bit of cohesion, especially within the later years since Sir Alex has retired. And yeah, I'm just not seeing that energy right now. You know.
It was like you said, it was a bore fest. There was Bruno Fernandes's one shot on target that hit the crossbar. Other than that, like, what was I watching?
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the matches. Unfortunately, I put a bet on and Villa to win it actually. So that's my one part of that match that I'm actually more upset about is
Mm,
that Villa didn't take it. That it was a one. It was a sorry, not even 1-1. It was a 0-0 draw, bro. Like,
yeah.
ugh, like so boring. Like it's just I think Man U had all the chances,
Yeah.
and Aston Villa just like could not break through their defense, which was shoddy to even start. But
Hmm.
it was a game of midfield. Man U got a whole bunch of yellow cards throughout the match. I think five yellow cards throughout the whole match. I do believe. But there was just so many opportunities that were missed by both
Hmm.
sides, and it was boring. But I still think that Villa should have taken it. Man U have been on the back foot, and they should have seen it.
Hmm.
It's a shame, like Ollie Watkins couldn't get out the gate. That was quite obvious.
I
Uh,
wanna I wanna stick with you real quick on Ollie Watkins because I think this is really important, especially because his backup just received a nice little 5-year additional signing to his contract, keeping
yeah.
him at the club until 2030. John Duran of Colombia.
Hmm.
I really want to hear: would you keep starting Ollie Watkins, or would you give Duran a chance to lead the line? This man has been
You,
on a tear. He scored
you've
the
been
the winner against Bayern Munich. Like kind of want to hear where your hit is, Watkins or Duran.
You know what? So towards the end of the match, when they brought Duran on, they didn't take Watkins off, and they played. I think they were playing a 4-4-2, but at least they were playing them both up front.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that might be something they want to consider. Let Watkins and Duran play together, man. I mean, I wouldn't sell either of them. They're both quality players. Duran has, like you said, he's been an amazing super sub. He scored the goal against Bayern, in the Champions League, last week.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I would definitely not get rid of either of them. So find a way for them to either play together, or they've got to share that, they've got to split the baby. Whatever that
Very
saying is,
biblical right there.
I'm gonna go split the baby. I'm sure there's a better term out there. I'm not gonna but no, that's what I would do, man. I think John Duran is definitely. I mean, he's proven himself.
Yeah,
So yeah,
he's growing every week, and it's really good to see like really good South American talent coming through in the Premier League, because sometimes that doesn't really happen. You get people that are established, and you get some players that are trying to make their name, but like good South American talent in rainy old England making a name for themselves is huge. So
I'm glad you asked that question too. When when they brought on when Emma brought on Duran, for a minute I was like, snap, here we go. They're gonna go for two up front, and they're just gonna overload Man United's defense, and they couldn't break through Man U. So it's just like that was disappointing. Of course, it's the first time I think it's one of the first main times they're playing together like that, in a match of this magnitude. So, let's see what they do with them, but keep them both. That's obvious.
Yeah, definitely keep them both. But I'm more so of the thought, like, especially with a lot of managers' goals right now, how they want to play, they don't usually try to keep two strikers on. So it'll be really interesting to see how that kind of unfolds.
Would you give Duran the number one spot right now?
Well, Ollie Watkins deserves it. I mean, the man, he's fast, he's nimble, he's a poacher, but then as well, he knows how to bring everybody in from his team in. While Duran is currently right now just on top form as a striker, that man knows how to score a goal from just about anywhere in the park with either foot. He's just been doing it, but he's still learning. So conventional wisdom says stay with Watkins, but I'm always the extreme voice on here as well. Like, hey, sometimes you need a switch, and Villa needs to move up the park as well. Like, they have their own goals. They're in fifth right now. They have a long season, especially in Champions League. So they know what they need to do. They have to make Champions League a qualification for next year. Still continue to build on their quest to try to challenge for the championship. So we'll see what happens with that squad.
Yeah.
Another squad moving on up the table. Didn't think I would say that this early, but Chelsea is really starting to surprise me. You have Roadman FC over at Chelsea. Played against Nottingham Forest over at Stamford Bridge. Nottingham Forest was able to score first in the 49th minute with Chris Wood, and then we had Nani Madueke scored in the 50th. But Nottingham Forest went down to 10 men, and then suddenly the fireworks were starting to fly. You saw their manager get knocked onto the ground. You saw the sidelines fighting. You saw more yellow cards. So Chelsea's next match against Liverpool, they're missing two of their starters, Fofana and Cucurella. So, I mean, what did you see of the match? Like, everybody talks about how Arsenal, whenever we go down to 10, like, you got to break us down. You saw a squad that is really humming right now, and Chelsea not be able to break down a 10-man side. So what did you think about that match?
Yo, it was a really great one to watch. I mean, Chelsea had 67% possession, with 20 shots on goal. They were one man up on Forest, but Forest just, like, they were not letting it go. I thought they played brilliantly. That Chris Wood's goal, very nice. Again, just like it was one of those teams, like, they came to play. And to really just shut down Chelsea. Cole Palmer couldn't get anything off. Neither could Nkuku. Like, for the squad that they have, Jackson, sorry, not Jackson, like nothing. Palmer, nothing. Sancho, nothing.
Hmm.
The team was really, again, even in Cooker, yeah, João Felix, Mudryk, like for the team that they had against Forest, they could just not break them down. Big ups to Forest for holding that
They
line.
got a squad right now. They're the only team
Yeah.
that's beaten Liverpool, and they beat Liverpool away. And they beat
Hmm.
them pretty handily too. The only two goals that Liverpool have given up this year came from that Nottingham Forest match. So yeah, they are something. They're in 10th right now. That squad is fighting every time that they get on the pitch, and they're a swashbuckling type of squad where they're just going to scrap and scrap and scrap to get it through. So
Yep.
we'll see how they kind of continue to progress. Chelsea, I know that we made fun of them earlier this summer, going through adding 46 different players within the last 2.5 years. Just they have a whole B squad that they play during their cup games and their Europa Conference League games. So they were easy to make fun of, but Maresca has come in and made them pretty challenging. I mean,
Yep.
Cole Palmer's just doing what he's been doing. But yeah, I'm still needing to see a little bit more. That defense still needs some work, but I'm liking what I'm seeing with that squad. They have personality, which I love. I mean, I called them Roadman FC. Like those guys on the sideline, you just saw they were coming to fight for their managers. Like man didn't need to get
Oh
knocked
yeah.
down like that. So
Yeah. I mean, Cooker got pushed right through it, man.
yeah. So I'm enjoying the fight. It's nice to see like a squad that has been down for a couple of years try to get back in it, but not this year. It's now we're going to talk about the top three. We have Arsenal, Manchester City, and Liverpool all won over the weekend. We had Liverpool win 1-0 against Crystal Palace. We had Manchester City win 3-2 against Fulham. And then we had Arsenal win 3-1 against Southampton. Everybody would say that these wins were all known. Everybody could bet just like saying, yeah, it was going to happen. But they were all different challenges within themselves. Liverpool's win, they scored in the first 10 minutes and didn't really get close the rest of the match. Manchester City, they had it really tough against Fulham. Baby Arsenal FC over there, they have about 4 Arsenal Academy products from our squad playing for them right now, and they're humming along, and
Yep.
they gave them a real fight. And then Arsenal, we're seeing some of the after effects of not having your main creative linchpin starting for us in Odegaard. He's been out injured for the last 3 weeks since his injury during national team duty. But we do see like these heroes are starting to really stand up. Havertz is really doing things that nobody would have thought he was going to become.
Yeah.
He's tied a record with Robert Van Persie of scoring at the Emirates, which is amazing. And his most recent goal was like, wow.
Yeah.
And then as well, you and I got to experience the match over at a bar Fancy Free where one of our creative heroes, Spike Lee, was at. Was take a photo of him, but wanted to drop that one in just because watching that match, all the energy within that space, it was a good time. So, anything else that you want to take away from those top three?
Yeah, I mean, first, I mean, shout out to Fancy Free and of course the big man Spike Lee. Spike watched that game over there was really dope. So we love just showing spreading that love throughout the Arsenal community throughout New York. The match was, I think, the match was great. I think Southampton, we should never, as Arsenal, we should never be giving them too much, room, because we've been knocked back plenty of times when we did that. So I was very happy to see the way that we did, take over that match, especially in the second half. Saka, 2 assists, 1 goal, absolutely fantastic. As you said, it was really good, interesting to see how we're adapting to not having Odegaard in the team.
Hmm.
I think everyone was kind of thinking, oh, once we lost Odegaard, that our midfield would really crumble, and that's not the case at all. I mean, set pieces have been fantastic. The midfield has actually gone more defensive, and in that transition, I think it's even gotten the creativity that's coming out of it has been amazing. There's been very few goals to go past between Saliba, Gabriel are the defenders, and of course Durea. So I think the match was very well performed by us. Man City, Fulham. I thought that was a really good one. I didn't expect them to get 3-2. Of course, they brought back the second goal later in the match. when it was pretty much, signed, sealed, and delivered. But that was pretty interesting to see
Mm-hmm.
how the team is just, acting, how the team is performing right now, especially without Rodri, without De Bruyne, and say how they're adapting to their midfield right now. Like it's funny. Like while we're also worried about ours, they've shown some cracks, but of course it's still Man City. Like they're gonna do what they do. So yeah, Kovacic, scored two amazing goals. So big ups to them. Let's see. We need to see unfortunately more injuries from Man City before we can count them out.
Thank everybody again for giving us a listen to Them Boys Watch Footy. We are on Instagram. We are on Spotify. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on YouTube at Them Boys Watch Footy. Thank you again for increasing our footprint, giving us a listen. If we can keep going up in our Instagram following, more likes on Spotify, we greatly appreciate it here. Thank everybody again for giving us a listen. So our next topic is our MLS roundup. We are now getting into the very nitty gritty parts of the season. There is one more full weekend of matches after the international break that's going to be taking place this week, where we're going to have Inter Miami has a chance to actually challenge the Supporters Cup points record at 73 points. They're currently sitting at 71 points. If they win their match after the international break, they'll be able to be at 74. Really historic piece. Right now, they're at the top of both conferences. Wanted to hear from you guys, like, what do you guys see coming up? Any things that you want to point out before playoffs start? Anything that you really want to dive into?
That I was wrong about Miami. When they first joined the MLS, they were like not a good team. I just thought David
Mm-hmm.
Beckham was just going to try to sign all these aging players, and he admitted, he's like, I want this to be like a glitzy and a glammy thing. I'm like, okay, it sounds like they're going to be fun, but they're not going to win, and they turned that around. One of like the quickest turnarounds in professional sports. Arguably the greatest player all time on your team doesn't hurt. So they have to pick. I'm not going to give you some hipster answer. Like unless they get injured, they are the favorites.
Very true. I mean, Martino has done wonders for the squad. I mean, they do have Serge Busquets, they do have Luis Suarez, they do have Jordi Alba.
They're all relatively healthy, right?
Yeah, they're all relatively healthy. And Messi was hurt for majority after the Copa final. So that squad was still humming along while the MLS was playing during the summer break for Euro, as well as the Copa was going on at the same time. So you had people leaving from that squad and they were still winning their matches. So yeah, definitely can see that from you. I really like Columbus. I really like what they do. I really love how they play. They're really pushing along over in the East. Even though they're second, their manager, Wilfred Nancy, I would have loved him to be the next U.S. men's national team manager, just because I thought the style of play, them winning the CONCACAF Champions League, them being able to go to the Club World Cup next year, is really going to be able to have a chance to put on a nice little show. So that was my Eastern Conference pick. I thought they could possibly take out Inter Miami, but with Messi coming back, I don't know. And then I'm always going to support my squad, the Colorado Rapids. I hope that they make it out of the Western Conference, at least out of the division, try to get to the conference final, really push it up. But the LA Galaxy, they're really pushing on right now. We have Ricky Puig and Marco Reus right now are just demolishing over on the left side.
They just got him, yeah?
Yeah, he's been doing really well. You have some really good players over in Caceres. That is old school Uruguayan international. You have Maya Yoshida from the Japanese team, John McCarthy. So they have some really strong players and a lot of vets, but they can mix in a little bit of glitz and glam as well. I really thought LAFC would probably be doing a little bit more, but it was probably a little bit too late when they got all of their players in. But we'll see. I mean, you got Kikamara, you got Buanga over there, Hugo Lloris and Olivier Giroud. That's a really solid line. So I'm really excited how Sharundalo is really pushing along.
I think there's 4 teams that have a shot, 2 in the East, Columbus and Miami, and then the 2 you mentioned, LAFC and the Galaxy. I'm a big Puig fan. I like celebrations.
Okay.
Very NFL style. So I hate it if the Galaxy made it far. But I do Columbus pick. I think if there's a team that can beat Miami, it's got to be Columbus. But I don't think anyone but Columbus could beat Miami. What do you guys think?
Yeah, right now I definitely think it'll be Inter Miami versus Columbus over in the East, and I think over in the West it'll be just an LA final as well in the conferences, LA versus LAFC. So
Battle of LA, yeah.
yeah, I definitely think that is where I'm leaning towards. As much as would love to see my Colorado Rapids just keep pushing, we'll see what happens. Yeah. Well, yeah. Please let us know in the comments if you guys have any pushes for playoffs, which are about to start. Any teams that to cover more, we really love to hear about it. And our main topic for the day, really wanted to talk about the player piece of it all. Understanding that players really are the drivers of why we care about the sport. Sometimes it's the world sport. It's super broad, and sometimes the only thing people really know are the players and the names on their back. Sometimes not even the nations that they play for. Sometimes they're just like, oh, okay, is that guy plays for this squad, but he only plays here sometimes. Players right now thinking about going on strike due to concerns of player welfare. We just had two players from the Euro 2024 Spanish team, Danny Carvajal and Rodri, as Waj had pointed out earlier. They went down for season-long ACL injuries. So both players on those squads, they played around 67 to 72 matches last year for club and country, and they're done for the season this year. So I know we've brought it up a few times before just in passing about how these games are getting a little bit too much. But first question to the squad, really want to understand, like, do you think players should go on strike? Like, do you think that is the right route for these players to push on?
It's a hard question because professional sports, at least in the US, is that they kind of change the rules to make them more injury less, keep the players safer, like in the NFL, like even in the NBA. But soccer, I feel like there's more non-contact injuries. So I don't know if there's a lot you can do from like an actual like rules standpoint. So the culprit has to be the amount of games, right? But what did we talk about before? What makes some money? Ticket sales.
Yeah.
So these people don't. I mean, ratings and ticket sales drive it. So I don't know what the solution is. Maybe they have to.
I think that they have to. I think that it's necessary for them to go on strike at this point. I mean, they're playing way too many matches. I mean, we had football overload over the summer between the Euros, the Copa, the Olympics, and how much time did any of these players who played internationally really get off? 6 weeks, maybe, and then they go back into their respective clubs. It's way too much football for them right now, and you've got international friendlies or qualifications going up this week. You've got the Club World Cup as well coming up, and sorry, the UEFA Nations League. I'm sorry, UEFA Nations League coming up. So it's just way too many matches. And if any of the big teams, I mean, you've gone from playing what was traditionally, 38 games in a season if you're lucky, to then playing something closer to 70, to now even higher than that. You're gonna have way too many injuries to these players, and there's no accountability to the owners to just stop it. I mean, like PJ said, like this is all being ruled by the almighty dollar.
Mm.
I get that, and business is business, but at the end of the day, like your players are also assets, and what's the point of running them dry? I mean, yes, you can just get more players, but that's not the type of culture that should be fostered in football. If anything, if we want to talk about solutions, I mean, let the younger kids play,
Yeah.
and if we're going to keep playing so much more of this, and then obviously we want them to win cups and we want our teams to win. But if we put in rules like, you can only, put a cap of so many players above a certain age, for example, like they've done for the Olympics, then maybe that could be a solution. But other than that, I mean, I just see more and more injuries coming down the pipeline.
For sure. I mean, right now, I definitely hear both of your arguments where the thing that really hurts and curtails the strike is people have to go against both FIFA as well as their club teams.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just their club teams. Like, people talk about you can play for your international team as a privilege, but people really want those caps as well because that gives you another avenue to personal success and personal gain. You see a lot more players playing or not playing because they understand they're getting paid by their club, and the international piece is just taking up a little bit too much of it. Right now, with the global players union at FIFA Pro and the PFA, it's going like they're seeing right now that in a lot of their tests, as well as some of their new findings, because of the intensity of these matches, these soft injuries that people are having has just gone up like threefold over. And it's really hard to hate on somebody who's earning around 250 to like 400K a week. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, you're playing a game. You're playing a game 70 times a year. Like, why are you complaining? I understand why people would say that. This is a lot of people's, this is a very strong people's contingent of just like how they escape from their day to day. I'm not discounting those feelings, but everybody has to understand like the human body is not meant to do some of these things. And the way that we've hyper focused on these things that these players are doing, it's a little bit too much. I mean, if we're starting children off over at U5s, U7s, 9s in the United States, they're kicking up the ball and they're going in travel teams as a kid. And they're getting able to see a lot of the world, which is awesome. But then you're having like literal like body development is being messed up because of the amount of games that these kids are playing. So if this is happening at the lower level, it can only be even worse with an aging body.
Outcome be less. I can't imagine they would cut down regular season games, like maybe cut some of the like external competitions, like the inter club cups or something. Like what is like a realistic thing to be achieved?
Well, I think people really enjoy watching the intercontinental fights. So you have the UEFA Champions League, you have the CONCACAF Nations League, you have the CONCACAF Champions League. We're about to have the Club World Cup, which I think is like a tipping point. Like you don't need all of this football this year, and then you get the World Cup next year, which has the most amount of teams ever for a World Cup.
48.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's
do you
all
really
a money
need
decision? It's 100.
Well, yeah.
It has nothing to do with like an analysis of we thought this would make the tournament better for XYZ reasons. I mean, it is nice that we'll see some countries that maybe a lot of Americans have never heard of in the World Cup, but it's all about the Benjamins, baby. Oh.
Well, yeah. I mean, they took exactly what the NFL had been doing with contracts with media providers, and they just made it work for them. Yes, like media in the Premier League is huge, and we're still seeing like other leagues over in Europe still trying to catch up to the Premier League, how much money you're able to offer players as well as how much money goes back into your club. That's why you see whenever you read a Forbes list of the most expensive outside of Real Madrid, it's a squad over from England or an NFL football franchise. So there's going to have to be some back and forth there, especially with player strikes. Whenever you're talking about labor specifically and you have kids involved, that's always going to be a very tricky space. Like you can't tell a 17-year-old that's also going to school, using Lamine Yamal as an example, like, hey, you gotta choose on the right side of the picket line. Like that is insane. So that's something to see. My second question to you guys, do you Waj, and I think you hit on this a little bit earlier, is it too much fatigue right now of watching these matches? Right now we're seeing about 3 games a week for most squads, either in the Europe or 2 matches on the weekends, Sunday and Saturday of the next week. So do you think there's too much?
I would say yes or no. I love to watch as much as I can, and I'm watching the women's matches as well. Shout out to Arsenal ladies. And even right now in Brooklyn, we're seeing teams like BKFC, Brooklyn FC, coming up. So I want to see more of it. I want to see the growth of football. But what I don't want to see is one player playing in Premier League, Champions League, Carabao Cup, FA Cup, international friendlies, club Champions League. Like it's way too much for these players. To be playing all these different things for club and for country as for well. And respect for them for going and getting the caps to play internationally and to respect their country, but we need to cut it back somehow. I mean, this is just way too much,
Well,
and as we've seen, I mean, it's led to where we're at now, to a boiling point where the
well,
players are saying it's too much.
don't you also think that's on the manager? The manager is trying to get results, and he's trying to play his best squad.
Yeah,
You're going to have players that are just like, I can play, because they don't want to lose their chance. I mean, we've seen people lose their positions because they weren't fit.
yeah. I
And
mean, I think it would behoove the clubs and the leagues to play younger kids or less experienced players, or like I said, put some type of cap on for certain of these leagues. Like if you could do it for the Carabao and for the FA alone, just speaking in England or speaking on behalf of England, I think that would ridiculously, be advantageous to the players and also for the exposure. Right now, most of these clubs that they'll play maybe 2 to 3 matches. They'll play with the younger squads, and then when it gets to the higher stages and the knockout stages, then they have to switch to their more experienced guys, and that makes total sense to me.
mm-hmm.
So let's switch up the whole entire game. Let's make it a requirement to play the less experienced and to give them more exposure and to give a rest to the senior play.
Well, yeah, really would love to keep going, but that would just take up way too much time. But wanted to hear.
Oh, I'm getting angry about this.
Yeah. Really want to hear how our audience is thinking on this, and love to see any comments, any suggestions that you guys may have. So before we wrap up, wanted to bring some good things into it. This is our nice little celebration corner of things on the pitch and off the pitch that I'm still trying to figure out a name that we can bring this in. So what I want to bring up is NWSL and Tiffany and Company reveal a new supporter shield and MVP trophies. So the National Women's Soccer League and global luxury jeweler Tiffany today they brought out a reimagined trophy design for the NWSL shield. That was part of the league's ongoing overhaul of its end of year awards. So the new shield looks pretty dope. It's given to the team with the best record at the end of the season, and it reflects a combination of modern beauty and tradition reminiscent of global football's time-honored prizes. So really excited that NWSL is really starting to get some shine. They're really starting to push in, especially with their brand partnerships. So really seeing a lot of people starting to truly invest within women's football within the U.S. side of things. So really happy about that one. Did you guys have anything that you wanted to bring up?
Well, first off, I just want to say that trophy does look dope. And I looked at the photos of their feature with all the fire and everything. You're like,
yeah,
man, I can't wait to see which one is going to pick this one up. So,
yeah.
Shout out to Tiffany's and WSL. One thing that I wanted to bring up, because, what type of gooner would I be if I did it? But this new collaboration, of course, Arsenal loves their fashion and loves to bring out always new collabs every year. And this new one between Aries and Arsenal is fantastic.
It's everywhere too.
It is, is everywhere. The gear is fly. Some of it's even over the top, even for me. I'm like, I need to cop me a couple pieces before all the stuff goes off the shelves. But the commercial that they shot of the Arsenal faithful, I thought that was so dope. So yeah, that was. If anyone who hasn't seen it, please go to either Aries or go to Arsenal's Instagram or go to their YouTube and check out the commercial. It has a lot of really cool features with some Arsenal supporters / celebrities with the players. The gear is dope, so make sure to cop a piece. So yeah, that was a really awesome little commercial to come out this week that I enjoyed thoroughly.
Yeah, I'm really thinking about this stained glass crew neck. I'm definitely thinking about dropping a little bit of cash for my Christmas.
Right.
For myself.
Christmas list ready.
Yeah, exactly. Like that thing is pretty fire and definitely can be stunting out on these streets of New York,
Hey, you got swaggy. I can see it.
I'll be trying out here.
The other thing I wanted to bring up, because it's I know it's bittersweet, but we had to talk about it, is Andres Iniesta finally retiring at 40. I mean, talk about a GOAT.
40's crazy for his position too.
Right.
Mm-hmm. He's not a goalkeeper. He's like in the middle of the field at that age. Good for him.
Yeah. I mean, he was all playing in UAE at the Pro League, but Yeah, man. I mean, and he said 1 year left in his contract, so he knew his time was over. So I mean, the end of an era with Iniesta.
Yeah, I want to list off a little bit of his accolades and he's one-time World Cup winner, two-time Euro champion, four-time Champions League winner, nine-time La Liga champion, three-time Club World Cup champion, three-time Super Cup champion, six-time Copa del Rey champion, and seven-time Super Copa champion. So one of the best to ever do it,
Damn.
Balling.
Yeah,
Balling.
that man was balling. Well, yeah, I wanted to thank everybody again for giving us a listen on Dem Boys Watch Footy. It's your boy E, PJ, Wash. Peace out.